Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, I'm going to do a solo episode here, and I'm going to talk about goals and dreams, pursuing them, and all the little trip-ups and pitfalls that I know happens when people consider going out on a limb and trying something different, or trying to tackle and overcome a fear of moving forward. So I won't tell my whole story here. Chapter 6 of Confident as Fuck talks about my experience of, making six figures and rolling in the tech environment when I was 22, and then having my hands becoming disabled, and not being able to work in a job where I have to use my hands and fingers repetitively 8+ hours a day, like on a computer. And at that point, it was pretty brutal because I had this dream, this plan, and now all of a sudden, any plan I had for even any type of job out there, except for the ones limited to using my voice, hi, I'm talking to you now, so it worked out. It was like probably one of the worst days of my life. But I will say this. It forced me, because it cut the golden handcuffs off my wrists figuratively and literally, that I had to go pursue what was an original dream of mine, which was to be in entertainment, a performer, speaker, all that kind of stuff. I just didn't know what about, but I initially thought maybe it'd be acting, right? And in the pursuit of that, things showed up that accomplished other dreams and goals. But had I never jumped onto the path, I would never have come across the things that met me at that fork in the road. A road, if I had never got on, I would never have approached that fork to be able to take a right and do that thing. And then I followed that road, and something popped in, and boom, went that way. Opportunities don't show up when you don't help yourself and do jack shit. But most of the time, people don't pursue their dreams and goals for a couple of main reasons. One is usually, what will people think of me? Right? It's imposter syndrome. I think I know it and I could be good at it, but I'm too embarrassed because I feel like a fraud. I don't know if I'll maybe answer a question wrong. I'm fearful someone will ask me something maybe I can't answer the question to, and I'll look stupid and people will find me out. People won't like me, all things about what other people might think of you, what your family might think of you, what the world might think of you. And so people never even start. So that's one of them. Another is perfectionism. People never getting going because they need everything to be perfect first. That doesn't work out. You just have to do it. So perfection can be a form of procrastination. Another problem too is, especially if you are someone who believes in the power of intention or law of attraction or co-creation, which I do, you might think, well, I need to wait to be motivated, right? When I'm inspired action. And that's a whole nother podcast that I will do on intention and inspired action and what this all means if you're not familiar with it. But for the people that are, it's often said, you take action when you're inspired. Yes, but sometimes motivation comes from forced action. For example, yes, I was compelled to write both of the books that I've written. Wanted to. But then you actually have to fucking do it, right? Or I would have to hire somebody to be a ghostwriter to do it, but someone's got to actually put words on a page and then set up a thing and print it. I can't make a book come into my existence through thought. In the real world, you can't read a book I'm just thinking of unless I've done the action to do it. So sometimes as a writer, I'm not necessarily inspired and motivated in that moment to sit down and write, but I also know from experience that motivation and really getting into it and fucking being on fire comes from sometimes forcing the action into it. So it's something I already kind of want to do, right? I'm already into it. I'm compelled to write it, but now here we go. Now I got to write it. So that part I'm not always available for. That's the sort of administrative part right, of rolling out a book, but you can't read what's in my head unless I put it out there. So sometimes I force myself into action. And when I do that, I get motivated. Sometimes I force myself into action. I recently had to film something pre-recorded, and I did, and I, got the lights out, right? Hair, makeup, the whole thing, right? To be on video, and I record it, and I watched it back and I was like, oh, nope, I'm gonna have to redo it. Right. Not because I'm a perfectionist. Obviously, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, I'm not a perfectionist. I mumble words. I talk too fast sometimes, right? I will say things wrong occasionally, poor grammar, whatever. I don't care if you get it, you're still listening. It's because you don't care either. So sometimes it's this waiting for motivation before you do a thing because that's your belief. And I'm here to tell. And so sometimes you force the action and you do it, or the motivation's not there. Like that day I shot the video, I had more to do. And I thought, you know what? I'm giving up. I've got the makeup on. I've got everything. Today's not the day. It's just not the fucking day. All right, lost some time, wasted a little makeup, and some hair products. But okay. But, let's be realistic here. I need to redo that. And there's this conversation I'm having with myself at that time. So I did force myself into action, thinking, hey, maybe I'd get that motivation, and my vibe and my energy and my motivation wasn't there. I realized, 30 minutes into it. So I stopped. So I didn't push it further. But often I do that and I do get inspired from the forced action. Then I do get into it and I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I forced myself to sit down and write. Oh, I'm so glad I forced myself to sit down and do that video, or whatever it is. So just look at that. If you have a dream and a goal and you need to actually do something practical towards it, like put words on a page or whatever it is, like open the LLC or, whatever the thing is to do what you want to do, you might want to try kicking yourself in the ass a little bit to do it. And if the motivation doesn't come after 10 minutes, yeah, okay, give up another day. I just have found it true for me that if it's something overall that I want to do, but I don't like components that are a part of it, if I force myself to do the action towards that thing, I do get into it. And that could be like editing, right? So for example, you finish a book as a writer and then you got to play chess with this thing. You're like, I don't know, does that paragraph really belong in this chapter? Or did I write that later and it really belongs in the first? I need to play some chess here, switch it around, actually play checkers. And then you're editing, you're looking at the flow, you're looking how you say something, and then you think while you're editing it, oh, this, I need to add this, right? And so on and so forth. And that process is like an administrative part of being a writer. It's really not fun, but it can be once you're in it. But it's never like a fun task. I don't think anyone goes, I am so excited to sit down and edit this shit. It's more like, all right, let's get this thing done, because it feels good when you're doing it because you're still then making the practical thing happen towards your goal. And so it still feels good, even though it's an overall kind of a downer activity, or like, no one really loves it. I'm sure editors love it, right? But sometimes forcing an action when it's not inspired in order to get inspired can work, and has worked for me many times. And it's usually in these kind of capacities. You have a goal, it's out there, there's this practical stuff that needs to happen in order to actually make that thing happen. I mean, someone could say, yes, you could sit at home and attract a house. And you couldn't. There's probably someone out there who the neighbor knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm giving away a house. Okay, great. Even if that happened to you, you're still going to have to like actually move out of the place you're living in, sign a paper, right? There's things you're going to have to do that are the practical parts of being able to live in that house that are not necessarily fun, but it's a part of you getting the thing. It's a part of you being able to have that experience in that new house, or the joy of finishing in a book and being an author, or whatever it is, whatever your goal and dream is. The other thing that really trips people up all the time, and this is just like one of the number one things, they, aside from being fearful about what other people will think of them, they also are, how would I say this? I've said in one of the other podcasts, they always put themselves on the side of the losing statistics. So they'll reason their defeat ahead of time. And I've talked about that in previous episodes. The skeptic episode, I talk a lot about that. The other component to like not pursuing the dreams is thinking, I don't see a way that I can make money at it. So let me just break this down a bit. The things in life so far that I didn't make any money on are the things that bring me the most joy. And I'm not talking about your classic, like, oh, a walk in nature is free and it's the best. Yeah, that's true. No, I'm talking about like performing sketch comedy and improv for years. Everyone that does that kind of pays to do it. We don't get paid to perform sketch comedy on stage. When you're a sketch comedy actor, you're doing that for the love of it and for the hope of, getting other work from it, meeting other people, doing more things, right? The joy. But we actually pay for it. You pay your gas to get to the theater. You pay for the costumes when you go to the Goodwill and you need to dress up like an old lady in a sketch and you get a bunch of, maybe it's $5-10, but you're paying for it. I never got paid for sketch comedy in and of itself. But the vibrational payment is still paying off. It's been years since I performed sketch comedy live. I'm still laughing my fucking ass off about sketches that were pitched by fellow sketch comedy actors for a show, and they never got in the show. The sketches never got in the show. No one ever saw it, but it's still making me laugh because I just remember them pitching it once. There are sketches from shows I remember over and over again. Sometimes I call up my sketch comedy buddies and I'll be like, hey man, oh, that sketch was so funny. Let's run through that again. Can we talk about that? I know you don't. And sometimes they'll pull up the sketch for me. Oh yeah, I got it right here. Let's read it. It's so much fun. It's like one of the biggest joys of my fucking life. And I actually paid for it. No one paid me for it. Now, did it lend itself to me getting auditions and other roles and things because I had that on my resume? Yeah. So sure, it gave me street credit as a writer, but more importantly, it gave me the experience, the joy. I'll never regret it. And believe me, you do sketch comedy and there's a lot of thinking about what other people are going to think. What if they don't laugh? Who am I? Oh my God, I'm in a fucking wig right now in an outfit. Is anyone going to believe this shit? Am I the only one that thinks this is funny? Shit, if everyone been lying to me and laughed at it, it's not really funny. I'm going to bomb. It requires a real high level of confidence, a real high level of I don't care. Even if it does bomb, I'm doing it anyway. There's so much courage and fearlessness in that activity that I believe that part of that is why I am extra confident in a lot of ways. And I do suggest in my book that if you have issues or need to be a public speaker, you take an improv class. Why? Not because you want to be a comedian and think you're funny. You could actually not be funny and all and be like, look, I don't have a sense of humor. Fine. You do it because it's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's gross. If you go to an improv class, gross. And you know what else is gross? The other people that are like trying to break the rules of improv and try to be funny and then they fail and then they feel embarrassed. Oh, the whole thing's kind of gross. And it's great because if you have a good improv teacher, they know this. These are experts. I would start an improv class off the same way as many of my former teachers have, which is to say, hey, throw your hands up and scream, I failed, because you're going to fucking fail in here. It's all going to be just like a sea of failure. Because improv is not about being funny. It's about playing a game. It's about yes-anding. It's about carrying a story through. And in that, in situations, the comedy arises not from two talking heads trying to say funny things. That's why you can't plan improv. And that's why when people try to do, it's very apparent and it doesn't work. Because they're off stage and they have an idea of something they think they're planning in their head. And then they come out and it doesn't match with just what happened, or we see that it's too forced. And it's obvious to the audience. If you've watched only improv games being played, you probably haven't seen this, but if you've seen long form improv shows, you will see this, and it fails every time. You just have to stick with the rules of improv. But the reason it's so great is it's frightening and it's a real cheap way to make an ass of yourself, be horrified, watch other people get embarrassed, because once you're out of there, you really won't give a shit about being embarrassed in general in front of people anymore, because nothing is more frightening really than taking an improv class. I think even trying to go out and publicly speak before taking an improv class, I don't know, unless you're really comfortable with it. But you could take a speech class too, of course. But improv, man, it's uncomfortable at first. And then as you go by and you do, in my experience in the past, when I was doing sketch comedy and improv, you get so immune to even giving a shit about failure. Failure is only feedback at that point. You don't get offended by it. You're just like, that was embarrassing. I fucked that one up. Okay, moving on. Next week, I tried. Usually audiences are very forgiving of improv and sketch comedy. They're like, they know we're putting ourselves out on a limb out there. You actually get forgiven a lot. Where you don't get forgiven by an audience is stand-up. And the reason for that, and I know I digress on this topic, but it's really not community. A lot of people are competitive with each other, stealing jokes. If you're in the audience of stand-up and someone makes a joke that you hate or you're embarrassed by and they bomb, you're like, oh, I hate this person. You almost kind of because it's really them saying what they think about the world. It's just them. When you're watching improv, that gets the most forgiveness because it's a collective making of stuff on the spot, and everyone's just impressed that you're taking the risk, so they're willing to forgive. If you set up space work and you set up a table on stage with like space work, and then like you walk through that table 2 minutes later, the people are going to forgive you for improv mistakes. Sketch comedy, little less because it is pre-written. So they'll be like, that was a shitty sketch or that was stupid dialogue or whatever it is. Someone's going to have an opinion about it, but still they love the ballsy endeavor of it. And it is sort of all there to have fun and laugh that night. So people are usually forgiving, but not so much in stand-up comedy. Anyway, I pursued all of those things. They cost me money, if anything. They led to other things, though. They led to confidence in other arenas, and they led to confidence in being a writer because I wrote sketch comedy. I never thought about being a writer, like ever. And I never thought about being a writer before then, other than like sketch comedy, maybe, but not really. And so it wasn't until after all these years and writing all these sketches that I looked at a friend and said, hey, you know what? Like we're living in Hollywood. Have you written a screenplay? Have you figured we should probably figure this out, right? We want to get together and do this? Again, not because we're going to get paid for it. Not because someone told us, I'm going to pay you $40,000 to write a screenplay. For the pure joy and love of the thing. And also, there are certain things in life that you have to do for free and write on spec. As a writer, you can't just go, I'm a really good writer. Someone would go, I need a sample. And so we just sort of did it for the fun exercise of it and to be like, hey, well, let's keep going this direction. Because I realized at that point, like, I'm a really good comedy writer and my shit's on fire at this comedy theater. And I know it because I see the audience every single night I'm there. And my shit's on fire. So maybe we should blow this up and write a sitcom. Maybe we should blow this up and write a screenplay. And so forth and onward. And then suddenly I'm at an event and a woman approaches me and blah, blah, blah. What do you do? I said I was a writer. She goes, oh, I need a writer. I've been working on this documentary. It's like a lifelong dream of mine. I spent my entire life savings on it already. And I need someone who could be a screenwriter for it. Do you think you could do it? Would you be open to it? Now, I didn't say to her like, oh, I've never written a documentary. I was just like, yeah, I'm in. But again, opportunities showed up as I danced along this path that I never said, well, I haven't made money at it yet, so I should quit. Because then guess what? Eventually it leads to a road where you do make money. You follow what you love for the pure love of it and the excitement of pursuing your dreams, hoping you will make it, hoping you will make money at it. Everybody wants to get paid for stuff that they love. I kept going, boom. Oh my God, I am getting paid for all the things I love to do. By the way, eventually in the past many years since I started to write sitcoms and screenplays, I have had several of them option, which means we did get paid for it. So what that means, if you don't know, is if you're a writer and you have a script, a producer in Hollywood, someone who has the power to actually like make it, or anyone can say, hey, I would like the opportunity exclusively to take your screenplay and then go shop it around town and see if I can sell it. And I'm going to make this, a 6-month option or a year option, and I'm going to pay you a couple of grand. And then that gives me the right exclusively to go pitch this places. That's what an option is for a screenplay. So we've had several options. I've made money at it, and I make money at my books. I doubt, though, that I never thought about writing a book. But then I got there and I was really compelled, man. That freaking thyroid stuff, if you've heard me talk about it, man, you know I wasn't going to stop until that shit was fixed or figured out or I exposed it, right? I was compelled to write that. Meanwhile, my comedy friends are like, wait, what? You're writing a thyroid book? Who is, what? How did you even? And then people in the paleo world are like, what? I saw you on Brooklyn Nine-Nine last week. What the fuck is this? I always hear niche is rich. And I get it. There's some real niche stuff out there, man. I was just not too long ago, just type in coach on Instagram in the search bar and see all the different types of coaches that are out there. There's coaches for stuff I had no fucking idea that people would even think about. I saw one, I pulled it up, it said post-abortion coach. How specific is that? Forget what your views are on it, on having one or not. What a very niche thing. Very niche. Did you know what? Someone found that people are obviously dealing with issues or something or whatever post-abortion, and they found that they can help them. So I know niche can be rich. I'm not saying that post-abortion coach is rich. I didn't really look too much into her stuff other than that's the title she put on her Instagram. And I thought, wow, like, fuck, that is niche. But here's the thing. It didn't feel right to be niche to me because when I started that thyroid thing, I cannot tell you how many people in my industry kept telling me, you should be the thyroid person. You should just go with that. Just go with that. But I was like, no, that's, and part of me felt like being like, no, but that's not me. Like, you didn't know me before this. I do other things. There's other passions that I have. I don't want to just do this. I have more to offer. Will I always be known as a thyroid expert? Absolutely. Will I continue to? 100%. I'll talk about it till the cows come home. Probably for the rest of my life. But I also got this other stuff over here. Okay. And it's important to me. And it doesn't feel right in my gut to just do that one thing, even though you're telling me that that's what gives me the money. Because I know better in my life that things that don't even bring you money bring you amazing things that are goals and dreams that are incredible. And that actually does lead to money. On that note of goals and dreams, and just what's holding you back and what other people might think of you is this imposter syndrome, feeling like if you get there, you don't belong, feeling like you have no right to be there, or also feeling like people won't buy you as that thing. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with either clients, friends, even industry colleagues who have approached me for my opinion, and they'll say, hey, I kind of want to go into this arena over here. And what I can tell is they're looking for permission to be a thing. You know, they feel confident about a subject they want to talk about, but they're not known as that. So they want to kind of like test and see. And so on one of these conversations, I had two that I'll bring up, but one of these conversations, I said to the person, I said, hey, you have my permission. You have permission to go and be who you want to be. Declare yourself whatever you want. If it's with integrity and authenticity, great. Don't declare yourself a thing and then not be it, because you'd be a con man, right? I mean, listen, if I were out here going, hey guys, I could teach you how to invest in crypto and make $1 gajillion. What a false ass fucking claim. I mean, I really don't know anything about that. You're going to go broke with me. I mean, it's not going to work out. So don't just declare who you are if you don't believe in it. But if you have like, I want to talk about this. I like this. And if you don't, even if you don't know all about the subject, but you want to jump into it, great. Who cares? Do you know how many wonderful, successful multimillionaires are out there that just said, fuck it, let me just go try this and I don't care. And I'm just going to start talking about a thing, and became more expert at it in the future. And as they went along, and people who followed them saw their growth, remember when they were at one level of intelligence about it and now see them as another, because they were not afraid to grow in front of people, right? Because they didn't care what other people thought. It's always those people that make it, in my opinion, that become successful, not just abundant monetary, financial wise. I mean, success in terms of happy, like fulfilled, because that's really the true success. There are people that actually don't care about money, cars, or things that are really expensive or require multi-millions, but they do want to be happy and fulfilled. So thinking about like, well, how am I going to pay for the thing? I don't see how it can be done. Those are all literally you trying to plan it and strategize every step of the way. And again, I did that at the beginning of my life after college with a great fucking plan that I was executing really well. And my hands got injured. So I'm not saying your hands are going to get injured, but what are you going to do when you have to pivot or something happens? You might look, I know so many people that have gone to law school, become an attorney, 3 years into it, they're like, ah, shit, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. All right. But it's the people that stay in it who are like, no, I committed to this. I went to law school. I told everyone I was going to be a lawyer. What is everyone going to think if I give this up? Well, it's a good living. There's lots of bargaining and BS, but the truth is like, really, it's the deathbed thing. Like, what are you going to regret not going for? And most of the stuff you want to do, you can do in your spare time. I mean, look, if you want to be an astronaut, all right, that's different. Bring realism into it. Please, please, please pursue your goals and dreams. Please, please, please. Please go for it. Please work on gaining the confidence and the self-esteem to not give a shit so that you go for it. The other story of a colleague of mine who's a New York Times bestselling author in the health arena, and they said, you know, it's weird that after I came out with the confidence book, they're like, this is so weird. They're like, how'd you? Everyone was very shocked. I didn't tell anyone I was writing the book except for like 2 people or something like that. And I just came out with it one day. It was like, here's a book. People are like, what? I didn't know this was going on. And I'm like, yep, exactly. Because also, I don't share my $1 million dreams with $100 people. I also care about myself, and I wasn't willing to tell colleagues, be like, oh, I'm writing a book about confidence. And then they go, oh, really? Where'd that come from? And now I'm in an interview and I'm talking about let me just do it. I'm going to knock it out, get it done, publish it. Here you go. And we can talk about it after. I loved that. Did the same thing with paleothyroid solution. Very few people told them I was writing it. And I wouldn't tell anyone publicly. Like, and I swore Mark and Brad, I'm like, don't tell anyone I'm writing this book. Because I don't need the validation, and I don't care what you think about my endeavors. I'm going to do them anyway. So I write this book, and then this New York Times bestselling author was like, oh my God, it's like such a different topic. I mean, you're the thyroid person. How do you get published, or how do you get people to see you as this? And I said, you don't. Nobody needs to see you as it. You declare it, be it, do it. You know, it's always really interesting in like the straight world of romanticism and romantic relationships. I'm sure everyone listening has noticed a guy who's like, we already know how short guys have it a little tough, right? But let's say there's a guy who's like short, not that good looking, not that in shape, but has like phenomenal luck with women. And you're like, why is it? It's usually because they're bold. Boldness wins usually. Being bold, confidence wins. So whatever you might be lacking in an endeavor and confidence, it will be made up for by the fact that you did it. That builds confidence in and of itself that you actually did it and didn't give a shit, even if you do currently give a shit. I cannot even begin to list the amount of things I want to do in life. I do wish I could clone myself. I've got so many ideas and so many things and so many screenplays and books and things and all sorts of things to write and do. But I believe that I have this fun brain that I live in. For me, I mean, it may not be fun for you, but for me, it's fun. I like living in this brain, and I love having all these motivations and inspirations and things that I'm compelled to create. I love it, but I don't think I would have it at all if I didn't just go out on a limb and try to do something I loved, regardless of whether the odds were against me. The skeptics said don't, the statistics said fuck off, you're stupid, and it cost me money and didn't pay me anything, and I did it anyway. Best experiences of my life that led to the confidence and led to the experience and knowledge for me to actually eventually do something else. Also, I loved within that arena that pays me money. You follow your dreams and the money will follow. You know what? It's fucking true. It just is. And I never at any point along that journey did I go, no, no, I'm a sketch comedy writer. I don't write documentaries, or no, 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 I'm this. I don't do that. No, I'm this. No, I can only be this. I was like, it was interesting to me. So I did it, even though it was off base. And there was a moment where I even thought, oh no, I don't want to move away from becoming sketch comedy, like actress, like performer person, because oh no, am I now becoming a writer? No, no, this is weird. Because I had this identity here and then it's changing. But I'm still compelled and I want to do it. And so sometimes we also hold on to a story about something we did pursue that we thought was a dream that we told everybody was the dream. And then we're worried not necessarily about other people thought. I wasn't in that moment worried about that, but I was having to detach from this identity that I had, or maybe like, oh no, I'm spending more time over here with writing and that won't give me time to pursue this, but also I love this writing over here. So I go with what I love. I go with what I'm compelled to do, even though there's a detachment or a weird pivoting moment of uncomfortability. So literally, if I just really believe that if I was able to do what I've been able to do for the past couple of decades without having the arm strength or wherewithal to have regular jobs like everyone else can, to have all these backups, right? These quote backups. There's a famous person who said, I never had a backup because I knew I'd use it. And I could tell you right now, if my arms and hands weren't, and by the way, don't feel sorry for me. I play ping pong, live a great life, swim laps, but I still can't use my hands repetitively 8 hours a day on a keyboard, right? Which most jobs require. That would kill me. But I mean, so there's like 1% of, maybe 0.1% of jobs in the world where you could just use your voice for and not have to use your hands 8+ hours a day. People would have said 20 years ago that was impossible. Good luck with that. Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. It's competitive. I don't know. Let me tell you something. When I was in the corporate world back then, I was kind of brain dead. I was just going through the motions every day, sitting down after work, just turn on the TV. What does this all mean? What is this all about? Yeah, I love this money, but this seems like a fucking phone in, day out. Oh, I'm just tired. This is all there really is. That's why I just couldn't be like, I'm going to make some money and get the hell out of here. I just need to go do my own thing at some point. I need to go pursue some other dreams that I thought were unrealistic or whatever, but I need to first make money and retire young. I did not like my existence. I was creative, humor wise with my friends. I loved doing comedy, but I never thought about doing it. It seemed unrealistic and stupid. And why would I do anything that would go against the 6 figures I'm making now? And then the universe cut that shit off my wrists figuratively and literally, and I had to do it. And if I could do it and forge ahead in those circumstances, anyone else can who actually can use their hands 8+ hours a day repetitively. You can do it too. In fact, you have even a quicker chance at getting to where you want to get with that. Sometimes the perfectionism part of the stagnation here with pursuing dreams can come from like, well, I just need to get another degree, or I want to be a coach, so I should probably have a coach. You don't need to be certified to be a coach. You actually don't really need to be certified in much to call yourself something. I mean, you can't call yourself an MD and get away with it. You could put MD on the end of your name and get away with it, but you couldn't practice medicine and get away with it. You couldn't actually have a business saying you were an MD to get away with it. You could diagnose people, right? But yeah, I guess you could get away with saying you're one. But for the most part, what can you do in the next couple of weeks to start to put a little fire under a dream or a goal you've had that you think is unrealistic, that people make fun of you for, that you're afraid if you pursue it and people laugh and then you fail, everyone will laugh at you, whatever. It's all about what other people think. By the way, just side note on this in general, most people really don't give a shit about you. They don't. It's you thinking they do. Most people are really just interested in their own lives and themselves. They don't give a shit. They might judge you, but they don't really care. They're busy with their own lives. What can you do to be more fearless towards your goals, no matter what they are? Maybe your goals are more friends. Maybe your goals are to buy a car. Maybe your goals are to attract more wealth, to finally get a job as a singer. it doesn't matter what they are. What can you do in the next couple of weeks to sort of edge a little bit closer to that? Are there some limiting beliefs about the hows it's going to happen? I can't see a way I'm going to get paid for it. So can you just look at your goals and dreams as something you love to do and go, can I just do it for the sake of doing it? Because in the doing of it, something's going to come up, man. In the doing of it, an opportunity is going to throw up. It's going to not throw up. It's going to be thrown out. And you're going to take that and go with it. And and boom, boom, and down the road. And I've got like all these turns and twists. And here I am. And everything that I've done up until now, fucking amazing. Love it. Oh my God. Can't wait for more. Yes, more, please. Obviously, I'm around as a coach if you need help with that. But if not, get another coach yourself, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, do the inner work. You can do it. You got one life. I am so glad I took the risks. I'm so glad I took that first improv class. I'm so glad I did that. As embarrassing as it was, I shit my brains out 20 minutes before every first sketch comedy show that I did for the first 4 shows. Nerves on fire, just immediate bathroom blowout. 20 minutes before the show. I thought, oh my God, is this going to keep happening to me the rest of my life? I won't be able to be a performer. It went away, goes away. It's called the pre-show shits. Everyone has them. A lot of people have them. I just know the joy that I was given because of the injury. The injury gave me the freedom to go pursue the stuff everyone thinks is stupid, right? So I went and did it. And it worked. I hope you pursue your goals and dreams. If you're pursuing them now, kick ass, keep going. Don't worry about the money and the how as long as you love it. Don't listen to people. Don't share your dreams. If you haven't started, don't share your dreams with people you know are going to be naysayers and downers. Don't do it. Keep it yourself. Get someone to support you. Get a friend, get a buddy, get a coach, get a therapist, whatever you need. But I don't care what age you're at now, because if you know anything about Hay House and Louise Hay, she's dead now, but she basically started her life at 60, became a multi-gajillionaire from her publishing house and all of her work, and became an incredible contributor to self-help and spreading that around the world, helping so many lives. She was 60. Mark Sisson told me once that, Mark Sisson is now 68. He told me that he really didn't start to kind of get going until he was like 45, 46, something like that, with money, starting to really make headway. He was a personal trainer before that. They don't make a lot of money. And now he has a private jet. And you know what? At first, it was just doing what he loved. He just was like, he changed his nutrition. He started to kind of blog about it just for his own purposes and whatever. And then people started to come, and he kept writing and tried some stuff. And then finally realized, oh, I've got an audience, and published a book on the stuff he'd been talking about. And it was all initially for the love and the creative exploration and and it turned into this because one idea after the other came. So first came Primal Blueprint, and then he published that book, became a bestseller. Then it was, I'm going to start my own publishing company. Then it was like more books. And then it became a podcast. And then it was always supplements to begin with. And then it became, hey, there's not healthy condiments out there. I want to at least start my own mayo, because mayo has shitty canola oil and soy oil in it. And I can't have mayo anywhere. There needs to be better mayo because I love mayo. So he started avocado oil mayo, and he sold his company to Kraft Heinz for over $200 million a couple years ago. Was a personal trainer. Lived in an apartment with his 2 kids and wife, and packed boxes of his own supplements in like 1995 or whatever. And initially he did it because he was creating the supplements for himself, really, and was like, oh, maybe I'll make a business. But again, following his passion in health and what he was doing, but trying to monetize it and seeing ways maybe he could help others. And then it just exploded. Look, there's a lot of people who start a supplement company that then don't get $200+ million from Kraft Heinz for selling their company. There's people right now who have supplement companies forever. They've never gotten to that level of income. But he also followed the trail, pivoted. And if you, when I worked for him for 10 years, he was my mentor for 10 years. I may still keep in touch with him all the time, and he'll be a lifelong friend and mentor. But, he humble beginnings. He had to borrow money from his mother to even just like start his supplement company before he even had Mark's Daily Apple blog, which is then what ignited everything else. So what is it that you love that you could do right now that even if like if you and the way to determine this sometimes is if I won the lottery tomorrow, what would I do now? First of all, you'd spend 5 months on a beach and multi-million-dollar house with, right, maids, chefs, people coming over and massages, and oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of it I would. But then there comes a point where you're like, all right, sitting around a lot, this is getting boring. You're going to have a passion. I don't care if the passion is I love to do puzzles. I don't care if the passion is I'm going to start knitting. I'm like, you're going to want to do something. Maybe you go, I want to help save the oceans. Okay, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's philanthropy. Maybe it's a hobby. And you see these people, we see like Jim Carrey and ex-President George Bush, like painting. And you're like, what? They're artists now? Okay, well, hey, all right. Just doing what they love, man. So what can you start to do now for the love of it? Let's say you want a clothing line, but maybe it starts with a sewing machine and making some stuff for your kids. And you're doing the love of it. And then next thing you know, people are like, this is great. I want one for my kid. Bingo, jingo. Now you've got a business. This is how the shit starts, people. This is how these kind of businesses start. Oh, where'd you get that? I need one of those, right? You don't do it for that purpose. I'm just saying though, is, the opportunities usually don't show up because you get 0% of nothing when you put 0% in. You don't even try, not even dip a toe, not even dip a toe. Sometimes you got to try something to see that you hate it so that you then don't have the regret of never doing it, but now you've satisfied the desire to try it. And so that goes for, I at one point, despite my hand injuries, I love stand-up paddling and can stand up paddle. I can't do it like all day, every day. Of course, it would kill me, but I can still do it for a couple hours at a time. And so I thought, you know what? My cousin is a stand-up paddler in Hawaii and she competes in all these competitions and she's badass. And I was like, oh, I want to do that too. And this is way before I became, I'm still doing sketch comedy. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get sponsored. I'm going to become a fucking badass athlete. I'm going to become a stand-up paddler. I'm totally doing this. And I was like, when can I join a race? I saw that there was a race, a 10-mile race in Malibu. And I was like, oh, I'm doing it. And I was like, not only am I doing it, I'm winning it. I'm going to win that motherfucker. I'm winning it. And I'm going to get sponsored because of that win. And I can just see this whole glorious life of me just occasionally doing a long stand-up paddle run, getting paid and sponsored for it, and then not having to do much for the rest of the year. Oh, this would be great. That'd be an extra added wonderful thing to my life. Oh, I just have this sports dream, right? So the day comes, by the way, I did win. I won first place, but here's the thing. About 4 strokes into that race, I was like, this sucks. This sucks so bad. I hate this. Here I am. I'm in Malibu, California, on the ocean. I don't know how far away from shore, at least 300 yards from shore. And if not 200, 300 yards from shore. And I'm looking at one of the most beautiful sections of coastline in California. And I'm rushing to get to 10 miles down there. And I thought, oh man, shit. Because actually, when I got out there, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I just wanted a leisure paddle down the coast. And then I realized, like, oh, paddling's not, I like paddling for leisure. I don't want to paddle to race. This is no fun. I had to get like 4 massages after that, by the way, because not even my arms. It was really because the way the wind was and I didn't have a foot rudder on my board, I really just paddled on one side the whole time. So I'm like bent and crouched over to one side the entire time. And I'm so glad that I went for it because 4 strokes in, I was like, never again am I doing this shit. Fuck this. Nope. But had I not tried that and done that, I would be sitting here going, oh man, like kind of thinking I should have, or maybe one day there'll be an opportunity where I can. I don't know. What am I going to do? Be 75 and do it? Like, okay, at some point you're getting older. Like, okay, I did it. So sometimes you need to try the thing to know that you don't want it. And that's okay. Because literally 4 strokes in, I was like, oh yeah, no, nope. It was like immediate. So that's okay too. And you got to be okay with that too. Sometimes trying something that you think is your dream, you realize you don't like it or it's not for you. And that's all right. But I know that in the trying of it, something else will come up that will lead you towards something. That's awesome. All right. I'll probably do more episodes on this, on goals and dreams and intentions and all of that. I hope this helped. If you listen to this podcast, please write a review on Apple. I would so appreciate it, and reach out for any questions through my website, elleruss.com, or Any suggestions for solo episodes, or if you have a question you'd like me to answer on a solo episode. All right, until next time. Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.